Pat Walker here with Mission Winners. It is Sunday and once again time to dive into the ETFs and MAXLIST stocks. Leading groups produce leading stocks and leading stocks produce leading groups. So what do? We're going through the ETFs. Weekly on the left, daily on the right. ARK Innovation, what does this tell us? Well, you can see it's below the falling 50-day and it fell on fairly heavy volume here on Friday. This is a fact. The air is better above a rising 50-day moving average line. I used to say that at the IBD meetups for years, and it's a fact. Focus on stuff that's showing strength. Don't bottom fish, okay? There's nothing here, but it also tells us, be careful with the ETFs or the stocks that this owns, okay? Technology related, let's move on. Here we go. Next generation internet. This one's acting a little bit better here, but it's still below the 50-day. What does it need to do? It really needs to push through that, see that downward sloping trend line? Needs to push through that downward sloping trend line with volume. Until then, be cautious. That's simple. Here's a simple quote for you. The air is better above the 50-day and worse below. Key on stuff above the 50-day, preferably above a rising 50-day. Biotechnology's lost the 50-day. Trend is still up, okay? But you can see it lost it on fairly decent volume here. What does that tell us? Be cautious, just be cautious. Some more distribution here, but you can see the 50-day is rising steadily. It's showing more strength than a lot of other ETFs. See that green moving average? Watch that, that's important. Remember what I just said about that green moving average. The green moving average on this is kind of going flat. Cloud computing's lost the 50-day again. Be careful with cloud computing. Energy, look at that, way below the 50-day. This has been talking for a long time saying, hey, stay away from me. This is the daily. Look at the weekly. It's no good. And it hasn't been good for a while. It's been good years ago or earlier in the year. Energy was awesome. But right now, stay away from it. Dow Jones Internet. Now this one's still basing. This one doesn't look too bad. I've already drawn a line if I can push through that, okay? Dow Jones Internet. You might want to punch up FDN, Frank, David, Nancy, and look at their top 10 holdings. You might find some there. IBD 50. This is an important one, folks. Look at this drop right here on the daily. It's in a downtrend. IBD 50 is a great proxy for leadership. It's the IBD stocks, the IBD 50, the leaders, okay, that the paper's picked. And it's a good paper. Just pointing out, be a little cautious there. Let's continue onward. Gold miners are still in an uptrend, but there was some distribution right here, as you can see. Just tells you to be a little cautious, okay, by the way. Gold miners, a little choppy, just be cautious here. You can see it on the daily, you can see it on the weekly. There's distribution here and here. Needs to show some strength and get back above the 50-day. Move on. Gold, now look at this. We just looked at probably 10, 12 ETFs and they all are below the 50-day. Look at this one, GLD. It's hanging in there. That's good to see. Perhaps if it takes out that line, that could be a potential buy. Something to watch this coming week. Hack, cybersecurity, losing the 50-day on volume, leave it alone, nothing to do with it. Tells you to stay away from, this is important, it tells you to stay away from that ETF, but it also tells you to stay away from the group. There you go, or be cautious with it. What will get us interested? If it starts pushing it back above the 50-day with volume. There you go. But there was selling there. Biotechnology's kind of hanging in here, but it's kind of choppy too, okay? And there's some selling in there, so watch out for that, okay? Let's move on. Online retail's hanging in. Not a lot of power here. It's just going sideways, but it looks better than some ETFs. You might want to punch this up, or industry groups. Maybe it'll take out these tops. Something to watch going forward. Oil and gas, stay away. That's it. Don't have to you know, on a stochastic basis or an oscillator. No, gosh, no. There's nothing here. It's below a falling 50-day. Until it shows strength, stay away. There's something beautiful about what we do here at Mission Winners. Things to possibly look at, but also things to not look at for now. Narrow our focus down. We don't need to look at a million different things. Let's look for areas where there's opportunity, right? Limited amount of time. Let's use it wisely. Software technology, you can always see the name up here, okay? It's basing decently here on the weekly, and it's not too bad, but look what it did on Friday. It lost the 50-day, the green moving average, and it did it on volume. That's not good. Continue onwards. Medicine. Well, this one isn't looking too bad right here, is it? I mean, it's a little bit of selling in here right now, but you can see on the weekly, and I'll draw this to help you. It's near tops. Well, that's good. It's demonstrating some strength. Again, there's some selling here, so be a little cautious with that. Mid cap. Support on the 50-day needs to show some power, but you can see, looking at the weekly, they're selling here. They're selling here, although it didn't close that bad here, and they're selling here. There's been selling. Be cautious with mid-cap stocks. Aerospace and defense doesn't look too bad, but there is some distribution going on in here, okay? So be cautious with that. Home construction, still basing, but a little sloppy here too. Have you noticed the common theme? Most sectors are not doing great right now. Don't worry, it will change. I guarantee it. I've done this for years. I was running money in 1986, 87, folks, and I used to teach at the IBD meetups. When action gets really crummy, okay, bull markets have not been outlawed, all right? And at Mission Winners, we're prepared every day. It doesn't mean we're going to buy, but we always have a list ready, just in case, always prepared. Boy Scout motto, be prepared. Here we are. Actually, I was an Eagle Scout leader and if you were getting your Eagle Scout in West St. Louis County, I was the last person you saw before we signed off on it. And it wasn't a power thing, just good stuff and outdoor survival skills too. Took them up in the high amounts. Losing here, losing the 50-day, S&P 500 growth, be careful with that. Small cap, support on the 50-day, but it needs to show some power. Needs to get some power off the rising 50-day. That's what we're looking for. Until then, be cautious with small cap. Real estate isn't looking too bad. See that? That's hanging in. My IYR, you might punch up IYR and see what their top 10 holdings are. Maybe you'll find something that's good for buying. Here we go. Transportation's hanging in, not too bad. Airlines, yeah, it's back above the 50-day, but man, there's some overhead supply there, okay? Be careful. Also note, this bar here, it fell on fairly heavy volume, so be cautious with global jets, airlines. Regional banks, there's just not a lot of power, folks. And again, I'm not being bearish. I'm not being negative. I'm just reporting what is. That's all. We approach the markets. This will really help you. Approach the markets with an open mind. It will help you make better investing decisions. Why was the stock market invented? In the strictest sense, folks, it was invented to raise capital for corporations, for businesses, right? But in our world, the reason the stock market was invented was for us to make money. I'm not being funny, I'm being serious. And it's our job to find ways to make money and execute properly with discipline and always control risk. I really mean that. That's what we're after here. Insurance has had a nice trend. It's pulling back a little bit. The trend is still up though, so maybe look into some insurance. You can always see the name right there for what the ticker symbol is. Regional banks, kind of sloppy. Be a little cautious there. Excuse me? Oh, I'm going to pause here and share something else. Protect your eyes. You go, what the heck are you talking about? No, seriously, protect your eyes. They're protect your health. This will help you. This is a high resolution setup. Black background. You do not want to be staring at a light background. It's really hard on your eyes. It's analogous to staring at a light. Don't do that to yourself, okay? And with the black background, with these colors, it's high resolution contrast. It's much better for you. In Mission Winners, we teach this. I've had this set up since the last century, and it's really helped me. Mid cap, kind of sloppy. Be cautious. We'll speed through this. Home builders are kind of hanging in there. Not too bad, but boy, you can see there's some volatility in here on the daily, on the weekly. Be a little cautious, but the trend is still up. Something to look into. Oil services. See, look at this. You go, it's kind of basing. That's okay. Oh gosh, you don't need to overthink it. Stay away. Stay away from oil services. Stay away from that industry for now. That's all. Not getting all negative, just saying, why not focus on areas that may potentially give us opportunity to make money? How about that? That's why we're doing this. Pharmaceuticals don't look too bad, but got hit here. You know what was a major mover there? Eli Lilly, LLY. You see that move? Yeah, we've been in LLY for a while and rode it. I might show you that chart. NASDAQ 100, QLD. Ooh, that's not so good, folks. This is like the MAXLIST stocks. Apple, Amazon, Google, okay? Netflix, Tesla, all those are big heavyweight things and many more in QLD, the NASDAQ 100. I look at this a couple of times every day. Helps make better investor decisions. Same with QQQ. I don't do QQQ, but I love trading QLD and investing in QLD. Retailing, dropping here a little bit, tells you to be a little cautious with retailing. Cloud computing, technology, it's basing okay, but still not much power at this time. Silver, choppy, leave it alone. Steel, melting, leave it alone. Sorry, I had to say it. Okay, I'll go back to it. There you go. You got to strike while the iron's hot. Okay, dad humor, I'm sorry. Have some fun too. Semiconductors are kind of hanging in, but not showing a lot of power. Be careful with that. Semiconductors leverage, nothing there. Spiders lost the 50-day. This is a really important lesson, folks. Right here, got to check my time. We're good. I'm supposed to meet some people. Lost the 50-day, okay? It tells you, be careful. Be careful, all right? In fact, until this starts pushing back up, just be cautious overall with everything. That'll help you. Things in SSO, the leveraged one, which I love. Solar. What has this been telling us for a long time? Stay away. We haven't looked at a solar stock in a long time. Why? There's nothing going on with it. Just leave it alone. Small caps, leveraged, loose. Look at this. When you see charts like this really whipping around, that indicates high investor emotions. Be careful with that. Oil, look at oil. What has this been saying for a while on the weekly and the daily? Stay away from oil. Stay away from energy. There's nothing there. I don't play the maybe game. Well, maybe this is where it's going to turn. We don't do that. So you can see aerospace and defense. This one's not too bad. Support on the rising right here, the rising 21 EMA. I'd like to see it lift off that. By the way, circling back to it, the green line is the 50-day simple. The blue line is the 21-day exponential, and the yellow line is the 8-period exponential. There's years of work in these two moving averages. Work, study, and research, and back testing. XBI, biotechnology, lost the 50-day. Be a little cautious with biotechnology. Home builders still don't look too bad. Home builders have been good to us on this run. From last year, it's been a rocker. But right now it's gotten a little sloppier. Just be a little cautious with home builders. How do you build houses with materials? See how they're connected? Home builders, nah, it's not so great. Materials, dropping lows in the 50-day. Stay away from that sector. Communication services, stay away. I mean, look what it did Friday. It's telling you, leave me alone for right now. Until it gets back above the 50-day, be cautious with it. In fact, that's a great investing maxim for almost everything that we look at in the investments community with equities. The air is better. I will say it again. The air is better above the rising 50-day moving average line. XLE energy, pretty sloppy here, and it has been. Look at the weekly and the daily. What does that tell you? Stay away from energy stocks. And we have. Avoid them for now. Financials don't look too bad, but they got hit kind of hard at the end of the week. Okay. It's got overall strength, but you don't want to see the financials getting really weak. That's a good thing to remember. Financials are very important. The action of financial stocks is very important in relation to the markets. Okay. So it's got support on the rising 21-day. That's not too bad, but we need to see some power. And it did fall. Watch this. It did fall on fairly heavy volume right there on Friday. There we go. Back. Industrials, that's support on the 21, but it's kind of sloppy there. Be cautious. Technology, look at this. I mean, folks, big money made in technology stocks, okay? But look, XLK, it's below the falling 50-day. What's it telling us? What has it told us? Be a little cautious there. There we go. Consumer staples. Now, this one doesn't look too bad, does it? Now, think about this. Consumer staples, things you have to have. You've got to have toothpaste. You got to have toilet paper. They're necessities. It's not like, oh, you know, things are rough. I don't think I'm going to buy any technology. I'm not going to buy a computer right now. Okay, that's fine. But I think you need toothpaste and toilet paper. That's what this is. It's defensive. And look at what it's doing. Money's been going into a defensive stocks. That's what it's saying. You can't argue with reality. That's what it is. Tells you to also be cautious then with other areas. Utilities, It's kind of defensive also. Also interest rate sensitive, and it's been acting okay. Utilities, healthcare ran up. Lilly's a major chunk of this too, okay? LLY, and you can see this has dropped down here. So the trend is still up though, okay? Consumer discretionary is basing, got kind of ragged here at the end of the week. Be cautious with that. Metals and mining, stay away. Oil and gas, stay away. I mean, look at this drop right here. Then it rallies up and then it drops again. Stay away from oil and gas. And there's the name right there, just to let you know. Retail, a little sloppy, be cautious. Software, kind of hanging in there, needs to show some power and get back near that line. Needs to lift off through the 50-day too. Okay, so that was the ETFs. Now we dive into the MAXLIST stocks. But first, let me ask you, have you hit that subscribe button yet? We noticed that only about 40% of the viewers on our weekly videos are subscribed. If you have enjoyed this video so far, please hit the subscribe button. It is 100% free and it helps us get more great videos to you. Oh yeah, the like button, also please do hit that. And if you have any questions, leave a comment below. Now let's get into the MAXLIST stocks. Apple. Apple fell on fairly hard volume, rallied up on less volume than it fell on, and then fell again. It's below the 50-day. We need to see things start to push above the 50-day. I said this at IBD meetups for years. The air is better above the 50-day. There you go. Let's move on here. So be careful with Apple. Here's Amazon. Amazon started to lift on Thursday and gave it right back on Friday. See that price alert? It needs to push above this. And I'll draw this to help you. We always have a plan at Mission Winners. And that's close enough. It needs to push above that line on volume and have other stocks do it too. Until that happens, err to the side of caution. Again, I'm not negative. I'm just looking at what is and saying, this is what we do. That's all. And it helps us. Part of making money is not losing a lot of money. Part of making money is not forcing buys that really aren't in our best interest. There you go. We teach this. Alibaba's kind of choppy here and sloppy. I mean, look, it gaps up, they gap it right back down. It runs up, gaps up, drops it right back down. A lot of tail bars there. What do these indicate? High investor emotions, lack of commitment, decisions. Be cautious with that until it starts taking out the highs on this weekly, okay, with volume. But again, price gaps like this, they'll chew you up. Be cautious with that. Continue onward. Sister stock, BIDU. It's below the falling 50-day on the daily. It's below the falling 50-week on the weekly. There's nothing to do with it. Just leave it alone. There's better fish to fry. Here we go. Google. Google can't get through the falling 21 EMA. That's the blue line. Can't get through the 50-day. It's trending down. And this is a great lesson. This is why I look at weekly. Look at the weekly price and volume. You go, there's some red volume bars there. That's selling. There's just not a lot of power. Be cautious. Be cautious. So is there anything to do with Google? No. Have we been involved with Google for a while? No, we have not. No, it's told us not to. Continue onwards. Meta was great back here and here. Started to lift up here, and then they gave it back. This is the daily. This is the weekly, as I said. Starts to push through that line. But notice this, and this is a powerful lesson for everybody. We taught this for years at meetups, IBD. Gaps up, runs up, reverses, and closes below where it opens on a pickup in volume. That's telling you they're selling there on this bar. Did we get involved with it? No, we didn't. And there's no power yet. There will be eventually. I'll just tell you this. Always remember this. Bull markets haven't been outlawed, okay? What's happening right now? We're just resetting, readjusting for the next big advance. And it will come. It will come. I guarantee it. It always has, and it always will. And we'll be ready. But in the meantime, through our tactics, we protect ourselves financially and we protect ourselves mentally. We don't get chewed up and get negative, go, God, I don't know if this thing's for me. I don't know if I can do this. Yes, you can. With the rules and tactics that we teach, yes, you can. That we teach and that we practice and that we do. Let's move on to the next one. Microsoft is below the moving averages, falling below the falling 50-day. I've said this probably in this video, and I've said it countless times before. The air is better above a rising 50-day. All right? Just remember that. That will help you. And also, another very important variable, focus on stocks within 15 to 20% of 52-week highs. That's where the money goes. It's a fact, not an opinion, a fact. Goldman Sachs is kind of loose here, fell on fairly heavy volume, went silent, went quiet, and fell again on a pickup in volume on Friday. Be cautious with that at this point in time. There you go. MasterCard still looks decent, okay? There was a trend right here, base break right here, which coincides with right in here. Here's one thing I'll share with you though. The market's rough. The market's rough. This is one of the better looking MAXLIST stocks, but again, the market's in a rough spot. The M mission winners, the markets don't argue with it, and we don't. Netflix started to lift and they took it right back. Here's a great lesson for everybody. It runs up. Where did it close on this bar? Just below its midpoint. Look at this. Where did it close on this bar? Just below its midpoint. Look at this bar. It gaps down just a hair, runs up to that resistance line, right? And drop. Folks, people use this stuff. They really do. We do too. Runs up, drops. It tells you there's sellers there. And until it starts to show power, you just have to be cautious. And I love the tactics we use. NVIDIA. We bought NVIDIA here, added to it, bought more here. This is the kind of moves that'll change your life. And we rode that pony and added and managed it through here. Watch this. On the weekly, it runs up to old resistance on that line and drops. Here it is on the daily. And what is that telling us? Be cautious. You had a reversal bar there. This bar up, but on less volume than it fell on. And then it starts to drop down on a pickup in volume and more. And that's when we sold our last shares and got out and said, thank you very much. Here we go. And accept this fact. This is for everybody. No ego. We're not going to sell at the top. Okay? And we're not going to buy at the bottom. But through our tactics, we'll make money and we'll also control and lessen risk. And for that, I'm thankful. Let's move on here. Here we go. Tesla. Tesla started to lift up on Thursday, right here on a pickup in volume. We bought it. We bought it. Did we go big? No. Why? Because the M mission winners. The market was sloppy. We went small. Gaps up, starts to fall, and we sold it for a very small loss. It was a loss. I'm not going to minimize it. It was a loss, but it was a very small loss. We were selling in here. When I lost the 50-day, the rest was sold. There we go. Control risk. It'll really help you. I promise. It's good for the head and it's good for the pocketbook. Visa. Visa's got a nice base here on the daily. As you can see, I'll draw this for you to help you. Tops across there. There it is. It's vanilla. Here's the daily. On the daily, what's it for me? A small handle. Notice in a pretty rough market, what did this stock do on Friday? It actually closed up on a slight pickup in volume. That's positive. So we'll have to watch it and see what happens on Visa. But I do like the base. But remember this, you need a good market too. Got to have that good market. That will help you. All right, team, that's our weekly review. Hope it helps you get a clearer picture of where the market's headed and what stocks to keep an eye on. By the way, don't forget about our weekly top stocks to have on your watch list video coming out tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you're curious about what we covered last week, you can find the link to that video in the top right corner. Remember, these watch list videos are just a small taste of what our VIP members get with the daily key list videos on missionwinners.com. So if you're serious about finding those super performance stocks, consider joining us. Now, I'm curious to hear from you. What are your thoughts on today's market review? Do you have any questions or concerns? Feel free to drop a comment below. I love hearing from you. Thanks for sticking around for the whole video. If you liked it, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. And remember, stay sharp, keep learning, and keep finding those winners.